Hey there, folks. I said I was going to make an update for you guys, and that's what I'm going to do today. I'm currently sitting on my bed, and it's on my lap, so if it shakes a little bit, that's why this video is a little shaky. And normally I don't make videos without myself with a little bit more makeup on than this. But after I explain how I've been feeling, it might make a little more sense to you. But right now, I'm on bed rest, so that's why I'm in my bed. And I've got all the necessities next to me. I've got my Subway, my water, my Kleenex for when I start crying, and all my pills and all that fun stuff. Yeah, so I don't really know 100% of how I'm gonna say everything, so if this sounds like I'm rambling, I'm really sorry. Okay, so where should I start? Okay, well, a lot of you guys know that, after going in remission on the 14th of November, I relapsed again on the 3rd of January, and I basically only spent 51 days in remission before I relapsed again, and that sucks because it's already day 56 into fighting this beast again. Yeah, I'm trying to censor myself, but I'm not probably going to this entire post, so if you don't like curse words, I'm sorry. Anyway, my disease was located in my pelvis. It was really, that was where my disease had originated the first time I started becoming symptomatic. So it's kind of, it was in the worst part of my body that it could be in, and it just got really bad. That my doctor couldn't really treat it anymore, so he referred me to a specialist. I had seen him on Tuesday, and then I was going to see the specialist on Wednesday. Okay, this is where I'm going to start. I went to the specialist on Wednesday morning. That night before, I was in excruciating pain. Since Monday night, between Monday night and last night, I slept 4 hours because my pain was so bad I would stay up all night crying and screaming. But yeah, this is the worst pain I've ever felt in my life. Like, everything I felt up to now feels like somebody was tickling me, because this is totally different. Anyway, I went to the specialist. I was on the phone with my mother on my way driving to the specialist, crying hysterically, and I knew I wasn't safe to drive, but I didn't really have anybody to take me to my specialist appointment. My appointment was at 7:40 in the morning. I got there and I couldn't really walk. It was too painful. So I tried calling the office so they would like come and get me in a wheelchair and bring me up to their place. But when I called, it said that they didn't open until 8, so that was kind of weird, seeing as my appointment was at 7:40. But so I ended up having to suck it up and walk. I could barely walk. By the time I got to the office, I was basically collapsing on the floor from the pain. They got me in a wheelchair and took me back to the thing, and I had never felt any kind of pain like this in my entire life. I had already been crying hysterically since about 2 o'clock in the morning. Straight. I was really tired because I hadn't slept more than the 4 hours since Monday night. And they gave me the new patient paperwork to fill out that they said that got returned to them for some reason. And the doctor, when she came in, I said to her I didn't understand all the questions that it was asking me because I was in so much pain. Okay, this was a really bad experience, so I'm going to try to summarize it and not give you all of the bad details, but she basically, it was obvious from the second she came in that she didn't even want to see me. I was the only one in there. There was no other patients in the entire office, because they weren't even open yet. And they had an appointment for me anyway, which is really weird. but I was a little bit late, and I didn't get to fill out the paperwork. I couldn't really understand it. She comes in and she starts asking me some questions, and I don't really understand what she's getting at, because she is basically telling me there's nothing wrong with me without even examining me. It kind of ticked me off. And she said there's no way I could have anything wrong with me, blah, 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 because I didn't have genetic testing. I had been diagnosed with type 3, and I have no other collagen disorders, so they don't genetic test you. They go off of everything else. So I had my diagnosis. I feel like this is going to be really badly articulated, so I'm very sorry. Anyway, she did that and started yelling at me, and I said, so are you gonna even be able to help me? When I made my appointment, you guys said that you guys do cortisone injections in the hips all the time, and she's like, oh, we don't do that. And I was really kind of shocked. It was terrible. So I was like, so why am I even here if you're not even gonna try to help me at all and examine? And she was like, I don't know. You apparently don't. You hate all doctors, blah, blah, blah. And I said, I never said I hate all doctors. I would never say that about my doctor. And I was in excruciating pain. And she basically yelled at me. And I said, well, you don't need to be a bitch about this. And she walked out. This all happened in the duration of like a couple minutes. And she refused to even look at me. She just said that there's obviously nothing wrong with this girl, and if a person can't walk, there's obviously something wrong with them. Ooh. Well, as I got out, I had to get out of the wheelchair, and I was walking by her office. I'm walking really, really slow because I can't really walk at all. I'm in too much pain. I'm crying. It's excruciating. And I try to say to her, it's kind of funny how you go to a place for people to help you, and you get treated like this. And her two medical assistants who are behind me shoved me, physically assaulted me in the office, shoved me into the wall, threw me on the floor, practically threw me on the floor. I had to shove back despite the pain I was in just to not end up on the floor. And I was in even more pain because they basically attacked me in the office. And I have some people who are reporting them for me. Thanks, Tracy. Yeah, that was fun. I told her more in detail, but I don't want to get into all the details and bore you guys because this video is going to end up really long. Anyway, as I was walking out, the medical assistants were walking within this much distance of my back, and this is after I had already been shoved, so I used some bad language. I said, don't you dare fucking touch me. If you fucking touch me, I'm gonna press charges against you. And I left. I barely made it down the elevator. I was crying. A stranger lady, whoever she was really nice, but she helped me to a bench because I couldn't walk anymore. I basically collapsed. And I was there, and she asked me if she needed to take me to the hospital to get morphine. I didn't want to break my pain contract with my doctor, so I didn't go, but I called his office, made an emergency appointment to see him, and was going to see him right immediately after. I had to drive to his office to see the appointment, and by that point I was in so much pain. I really wasn't safe to drive. I really couldn't see anything. I really couldn't think. I got to the appointment. I got picked up at the bus stop because there's a shuttle bus from the parking lot to my doctor's office. And I was picked up and put in the wheelchair from my car because I couldn't stand. And they took me in the wheelchair onto the bus through the wheelchair ramp, and that was my first time in a wheelchair ramp. That was pretty interesting. But I got in there, and they transferred me. I got into the office, the doctor's office, in a wheelchair as well. And when I got into the office, the tech guy, he picked me up and put me on the exam table because I couldn't even stand to get from the wheelchair to the exam table. He picked me up and put me on it. When you know how you go to the doctor and they ask you on a 1 to 10 scale, where's your pain at? 67 on a 1 to 10 scale. That's what? You don't even have words for that. I couldn't even take any of my medications by mouth because the pain was so bad it would make me vomit. I couldn't do anything. I couldn't stand. I couldn't move without crying hysterically. I cried hysterically for hours at a time. They would not let me leave. My doctor had seen a rapid deterioration in me because he had just seen me less than 24 hours before that, and I wasn't quite that bad. So, hence why I'm on bed rest today, because I'm risking doubling my disease again if I were to stand or walk too soon. Anyway, yeah. Sorry, I'm getting hiccups. I always get those. And he saw me there, and the last thing he could do, he was referring me to a different specialist. The thing is there's a specialist in Colorado Springs. His name is Dr. Corbett, and I know that's where Tracy sees. He is like the best person to treat this disease in a multi-state region. He's tried to get me a referral to him, but he doesn't accept my insurance, so I'm kind of screwed. But there is a possibility I can qualify for Medicaid and use the Medicaid to get him to do it because of my disability. So I'm going to try to do that and get him at least as a second opinion, because his opinion is pretty much, he's the best there is within, like Colorado, New Mexico, both Dakotas, Nebraska, Kansas, Oklahoma, Wyoming, Montana, Utah, New Mexico, and Arizona kind of area, all around there. He's like the best person I could see. So I'm trying to get to see him, but he doesn't accept my insurance. When I got to the clinic, they gave me a shot of something. It wasn't really going to help me much, but they were trying to hopefully get the edge off. Weird thing, I haven't been able to look at a needle since I was 12. When I get injected, it just creeps me out. But I was in so much pain yesterday that I could actually watch it and not be bothered by it. I said, do whatever you want, take an axe and hack out my hips because it hurts. And I got that shot, but because I was in so much pain and I was unable to stand, they were unable to let me leave. I couldn't find anybody to get me home, so they had to keep me there for hours before I actually could get myself to remotely stand so I could go home. Because nobody was available to take me home yesterday. I was just sort of stuck there. But okay, so that was basically the story of my yesterday. I'm getting referral to a different specialist. One of the weird things, okay, this is a weird thing that happened to me yesterday. Okay, you know how, I'm going to move my arms a little bit so I can explain this. Say this is your hip bone right here, it's like a little socket, and you have your femur, and it's like a ball and socket, and you stick it in there so you can like move it around and stuff. Well, my hip bone, it's known to pop like this. Yesterday, for 3 times, it completely dislodged from my pelvis, and it was out, just out, and I had to use my hand to push it back in. I had to push my hip bone back into the joint. So obviously, both of my hips are somewhat dislocated. Cortisone's probably not going to do much at this point. Even my doctor, who saw the rapid deterioration within a day, hence why I'm on bed rest, we got to the point where it's not likely I'm going to get to keep my hips. There's like a 1% chance, and at this point, it's almost not even worth fighting it because of what I'm facing. So this is my bad news. The next step for me is to find a specialist to do the scans, see exactly what's looking on inside, and refer me to an orthopedic surgeon who has a specialty in connective tissues, because mine's not a regular hip replacement. The tissues around it's destroyed, so we can't just replace it. We have to do all this other stuff. So I need to find one that has a rheumatological background as well. If that's not possible with my insurance, one that has like a bone oncology background as well. So they're going to find a doctor, and I'm going to have my hips replaced in probably the near future. I don't know how long it's going to take to get everything together. I don't know what kind of replacement it's going to be. The doctors all say that given my disease, the surgery itself is going to hurt less than the pain I'm in right now. I've been to the point where, I physically can stand right now, but I'm just not allowed to because I'll duplicate what I've already done, and at that point, I'm screwed. So I'm on bed rest for about another 6.5 hours at the time of recording this. That's fun. I get to sit in bed and do nothing. Woo! I can only get up to use the bathroom. It's fun. And if I take a shower, I have to sit. I can't stand up at all. Yeah! But I don't know, I'm still smiling. The hip replacement, it's bad news, but it's good news too, because everyone believes that if it's really, really successful within 6 months, most likely 6 months, I'm going to be doing things that I've never even been able to do before the hip replacement. If I get it in like May, which is what I'm gonna try for, but it's all logistics. It's insurances and all this other stuff, so there's no guarantee. I have no idea what month it's gonna be in, but we are going to do everything we can. If it does happen in May, then by November I should be mostly through rehab for it, and I should even be able to go skiing. I should be able to go rock climbing. I should be able to go hiking. I should be able to maybe even go running. And given my age, it's not going to be as bad of a recovery. If it's 100% successful, it's going to be a lot easier. I could potentially be walking, depending on the type of replacement, easily within a week of the replacement, and then just going through rehab to get myself back to full function. Everything down there is completely destroyed, obviously. And it's really hard. I didn't make this video yesterday because I want you guys to know what I'm going through, but at the same time, I want to sort of process everything myself. You know, I can't share my story with you if I can't say it and articulate it. And I haven't really given myself the chance to articulate it yet. A couple people know about it, but I basically lost. I lost my battle. It's not fatal, so I'm not gonna die or anything. I'm just gonna be losing all my hip joints and my pelvis and stuff. And it's going to be replaced with something fake. And the thing is because my disease originated in that right hip, if I'm still doing like the UV and the radiation for the rest of my body, before and after the treatment, I could basically rid most of it out of that part of my body. And it's not curable, but I can rid it basically out of my body. And I could go into a remission that lasts me 20 to 40 or more years after the surgery's done and recovery's over, if it's a success. And other than taking care of myself, there's no real reason to think that I would ever be sick again until I get to the point where I need to have my replacement replaced. Because of my age, it's not going to last the rest of my life. So eventually my replacement would need to be replaced, but that's way down the road, and there's every reason to think I'm going to be walking, running, being happy, doing everything normally, and not struggling even 2%. It's really hard for me to work and stuff in the meantime, so I'm going to end up applying for things like SSDI, which really makes me feel guilty. I got approved for a handicap sticker for my car, and I'm getting a wheelchair, a regular wheelchair, to help me get around for when I can't walk. Because really, I shouldn't be walking if my hips are both have a tendency to completely dislodge themselves. So the sooner I can get the surgery done, the better. So I'm disappointed, and I'm scared that of the surgery, because it's gonna be, honestly, it's a complicated hip replacement. It's not a standard hip replacement, because everything that they would connect to the replacement is also pretty much destroyed. So it's got a lot of complications with it. But there's every reason we have to believe that it's going to be a success. So just keep smiling, just keep praying, just keep pushing on. That's what I'm doing, and looking on the bright side that the surgery is probably going to hurt less than what I'm in now. And I'm going to be living a completely normal life after the surgery. I was worried that I wasn't going to be able to have kids, but I did some research, and I have a 70% chance that I'm still going to be able to deliver vaginally. It's going to make my pregnancy actually easier, and if I did fit in that 70% that can have a natural childbirth, I can buy 10-15 years on my hip replacement and actually make myself even healthier for having a child. So that's just, it's actually pretty crazy, but it's the truth. Like, I might actually be better after I have the hip replacement. So rather than fight it, that's just what's going to happen. And I'm losing my hips. I'm emotional about that, but at the same time, I'm happy about that, because it means I'm going to be better off. I'm working on things to raise awareness and do other drug trials and find things for other people, because there's not a lot of research going to this disease, and it sucks. And there's not a lot of support groups. A lot of people go without knowing somebody with this disease for their entire life, no other people with it. I'm just glad that Tracy and I know each other, because we have the same thing. And if there's any chance that you have this disease and you need to get diagnosed, get diagnosed. Because if you're not on the treatment you need, when you need it, this is who you're going to be like. Do you want to be in a pain that is going to make a childbirth feel like you're being tickled? That's what people have told me. But anyway, I'm really just happy for the support that I have. I've got a lot of great people who are backing me up and being there for me and encouraging me, and I know God's on my side. I'm more scared of this disease than I am even of, like, death itself. This disease is very aggressive, and it's very, very painful. I'm like everybody else. I'm just like you guys. I can do anything you can do, and I don't like people looking at me like I'm fragile. There's still ways to get around everything that you're facing, and, you know, we all have our own difficulties, and this is just a little bit of what I'm going through right now. And nobody fights alone, and I'm going to continue to fight, even if at times it seems like I'm reluctantly fighting. I'm not giving up, and I'm going to win the war, even if I've lost the battle. I'm going to smile, and I hope that I can bring a smile to all of your faces too, because you can deal with whatever's going on in your life, just like I'm dealing with what's going on in mine. And I've been talking for quite a while, and it's kind of disorganized, so I'm probably not going to be talking for much longer. But yeah, so my next step is a hip replacement. My mother's flying out just to visit me for a week and help me out And she's going to be here tomorrow. I just found that out, like, less than an hour ago. Okay. And, then getting everything in line for surgery. And, of course, you can follow my page on Facebook. It's, Team Raye versus Ehlers-Danlos. And this is anybody who wants to fight this disease, raise awareness for this disease, follow my story. I've decided to make my story public because you guys have things going on in your life too. And I don't want to use it as a downer for you guys, but as encouragement that even though I have all this going on, my life isn't over. My life is not ruined by this disease. It will get better. There is a solution, just like there's a solution for everything that you guys are facing. And if you guys need anything, let me know. And thank you guys all for supporting me and being there for me and just encouraging me, because this is a very scary time. But I'm getting through it, and I'm getting through it with a smile, despite the fact that this pain is probably 3 times worse than the worst pain I've ever felt in my life. But, you know, we all have difficulties, and I like to believe that, you know, what I'm going through now, there's a greater purpose for it down the road, and things are going to be better. So I know that they're not good now, but they're going to be better. And keep smiling, keep fighting, keep believing that everything's going to come together. And thank you guys so much. Bye, guys.